We can't say the future without AI. I mean, there's no way around it. 50% of workers now believe AI is going to improve their experience. When I come into the meeting room, I need a way to incorporate my AI with what's going on in the meeting. It's almost a bring your own AI type of a concept. Most of what we do in our day-to-day is going to change significantly.
Hear the latest AV trends and predictions in this episode of Crestron's Smarter Spaces podcast on your preferred podcast platform.
If digital signage goes wrong, everyone's going to see it. That's the whole. It is signage. In the early days, it was like Windows 98 systems, and the amount I used to go around getting photos of like blue screen of deaths at airports. You'd have your name emblazoned across this big screen that all of your customers are seeing. And if that goes wrong and the poo hits the proverbial fan, then that's going to be broadcast to the world.
I love talking to an English guy. Even when he talks about hitting the fan, it sounds so proper and nice.
Keep talking. I am like obsessed with your accent.
We have made so much progress, and all we ask is an audience with you to prove it.
Say aluminum.
Aluminium.
I love that.
The health of the AV industry. Digital signage fails, and AVIXA throwing a party for InfoComm at the Las Vegas Sphere. All that and more next on AV Week. This is AV Week, episode 657, recorded Friday, March 22nd, 2024. Vegas Sphere Party. This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audiovisual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us to discuss the biggest stories we have got this week. First and foremost, Rebecca Sullins from EAVA. Welcome, ma'am.
Hi. Lovely to have you on, Tim.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. Brock McGinnis from Nationwide. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Tim. Always a pleasure. Appreciate being asked back.
And last but not least, as the old joke goes, I just flew in from Orlando, and boy, are my arms tired, because I got to hang out with Neil Flooster this week from Crestron. How are you, sir?
I'm very good. It was so good to see you. You're looking good. I said it on LinkedIn. Yeah, I'll say it again. You're looking hot, Tim. I would.
Well, yes, you are as well, sir.
It's flustered. Yeah, Flooster's flustered him.
We'll talk about why Flooster is hanging out in the States, because he, as you can tell from his accent, he's from South Georgia. He's from London. He and I did get to hang out at Crestron Masters this week in Modern Work Summit. Instead of flying back and forth to London for 3 days, he's sticking around, and he and I are both going to Enterprise Connect, which we'll talk about at the end here.
I'm saving the planet. I'm offsetting my carbon. It's great.
I appreciate, and we all appreciate that, sir. All right, first story. Digital signage fails. A global digital signage outage forced thousands of McDonald's restaurants to close temporarily on Friday, with a quote-unquote out-of-service message appearing on order terminals across multiple countries. The company's chief information officer, Brian Rice, clarified that the issue was caused by a configuration change made by a third party. Put a pin in that for a second, and not a direct result of a cyber attack. The outage, which lasts up to 12 hours, significantly impacted McDonald's operations worldwide, with some franchises reporting an inability to serve customers for about an hour and a half on some locations. It also impacted the self-service kiosks and mobile ordering. So this was a ginormous thing. Rebecca, I want to start with you on this. One of the things that the article pointed out, when Mitchell put a link to the AV Magazine article, was the need for redundancy, right? Mm-hmm. What is the ideal redundancy plan here? Now,
see here, I feel like this is a bit of a trick question, Tim.
Okay.
Because redundancy, as we see it in technology, means backup pathways, making sure that one equipment failure isn't going to down your system, whatever, right? You know, your network switch goes offline, you have a redundant network switch, stuff like that. In my world, it's DSPs. You know, something fries your DSP, the other one automatically picks up. In this particular case, that's not a integration issue. That was somebody making a mistake. And redundancy for human error is an entirely different thing than what we generally think about, unless you're talking about live events and stuff like that. So in this case, like, where would the redundancy be except for perhaps in an analog backup, right? If everybody has signage boards that they can put up but they couldn't even order. So where is the I honestly don't know where the redundancy is in this from a system perspective. which is a weird
So
one.
that's a fair analysis. So let me take a different stab at this. Then how do we not have this happen? Because here is where, because you pointed out something very critical here, and that is, this was somebody, updating something when they, I don't know how they messed it up, but they messed it up. This feels very much like every meme I've seen about the AT&T download and the downing. And then the week after that, Facebook was down. And then the week after that, LinkedIn was down. So do we not, how do we teach our techs and our folks and our customers best practices for when and where to update firmware/software?
Okay, that's a valid question. I think education is key, right? You don't want to update something that's going to affect tens of thousands of people in the middle of the day, which they clearly did. Yeah. That's just sort of basic programming, maintenance, whatever. You can automate these things, and that might be a good way to sell control systems, et cetera, monitoring, so that when people aren't using these systems, right? And you can update then. So the control and monitoring aspect becomes really important here. And ironically, the last time I was on this podcast, one of the things that we talked about was the rise in binaural displays, right? Like your Kindle, where even if the system goes down, they will continue to display that message. So maybe this is a case in point for going in a slightly different route as opposed to traditional AV. All
right. Brock, same. I've obviously picked the wrong question, so I'm going to go the other direction on the update. A dear friend of mine, Rich Fregosa, says you never update on Friday and you don't do it remotely. So how do we get into our in front of our clients and say, whether it's a security patch or it's a feature update, how do we put forth best practices for when and where to update systems?
It's interesting because this is this is that intersection of AV and IT, where we're actually talking about IT practices, which I'm not an expert in. I know how to create redundancy in the AV world and mission critical systems, and how you have failover. And they used to be mechanical and analog, and now it's digital. But I have to think that there are IT standards about updates. My sense is that the McDonald's issue was a POS system, not a digital signage system. Any digital signage aspect is likely just scraping data out of that POS system. I hope it wasn't because McDonald's was very slow paying their bills, and the service provider decided. But we have to talk about risk in every aspect of what we do to the client. What happens when whatever this system is that we're implementing doesn't work? Rebecca, I think the first big stadium system that a company I was working for ever did was that they were able to get the funding for it because of life safety. The old PA and the way the old architecture worked, they had no way of clearing 50,000 people out of a building in the event of, we don't have active shooters in Canada. We're very passive. But in other sorts of incidents, and these are critical conversations to have with clients, because if we know anything about technology, it will fail at some point. It will get old. It'll fall over, and so if it's part of the conversation from the beginning, it can be addressed, and you can manage the 99% risk, the 1% risk of some doofus making a keystroke error, doing an upload. Well, you're right, Rebecca. That's not going to happen. Fortunately, Crestron systems never fall over, right?
I think digital signage is an interesting one. I used to do digital signage systems back in the day, and it's one of those things you talk about mission critical. But if digital signage goes wrong, everyone's going to see it. That's the whole. It is signage, I think the redundancy is Rebecca knocking out a quick thing on her plotter behind her and an analog thing and sticking it on the screen. You get the McDonald's employees to put that out there. But I remember when we used to sell digital signage systems, and say I'm talking 15 years ago, in the early days, it was like Windows 98 systems. And I used to go around getting photos of like blue screen of deaths at airports. You'd have all the screens. Then our thing was, don't use a Windows system for digital signage unless you want to advertise, Windows blue screens a day. And so we go in and catalog them. I think from an update point of view, you need to look at how customer facing or how visual these systems are, and then work out your update plan. If it is something that's kind of like a back office printer, that if the update fails, it's not going to be a big issue and you can work around it, versus your name emblazoned across this big screen that all of your customers are seeing. And if that goes wrong and the poo hits the proverbial fan, then that's going to be broadcast to the world. So maybe you want to kind of check those out or have someone on site managing those and making sure everything goes beautiful and smoothly, maybe.
I love talking to an English guy, even when he talks about hitting the fan.
I was being polite. I was trying. I could have gone. I'm obviously managing the audience. Again, I'm here teaching Americans King's English, so I'm doing my best.
King's English,
absolutely.
All right. Really quickly to clarify, not clarify, but to define one of the acronyms Brock used. POS stands for point of sale.
Yes, as opposed to
just want to clarify that.
This is Erin Marmoran of EdTech. The world of higher ed AV is growing rapidly. That's why each month we hear from the best and brightest from colleges and universities all over the U.S. Check out EdTech on AVNation.tv or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Next story. AVIXA says we're recovering. Yay. According to AVIXA, the pro AV industry is showing signs of recovery in 2024, with the AV sales index reaching 60.7 in January, a level not seen since 2017. Despite lingering supply and labor force issues, the industry is experiencing positive shifts, according to AVIXA, with fewer respondents reporting significant challenges and concerns about rising costs. Although the AV employment index has seen a slight less positive start to the year, it is expected to increase if the AV sales index maintains its current level. The robust U.S. employment data for January had 353,000 jobs added and a 4.5% increase in an average wage. It suggests that the pro AV industry is on the path to recovery, despite the challenges faced by businesses in the sector, including the fact that the interest rates are staying at 5.5% as of March 20th. We were recording this on March 22nd. So just 2 days ago, the Fed did decide pretty much not to do anything, at least for the next quarter. Now, depending on which look up your favorite economists, see what they think they're going to do. Half of them are like, well, the Fed's not going to do anything for a year. The other half are like, oh, yeah, they're going to lower by the end of the year. And just like weathermen and every sportscaster I've been watching for the last month, none of them know what the Bears are going to do in the draft. So, Brock, where do you see the industry right now as we head into, quite frankly, as we head into the summer buying season and the second quarter?
I have no cause for concern.
Okay.
We're busy. Everybody I know is busy. I don't perceive that we have supply chain issues at this point. And maybe that's, because most of us diversified our range of suppliers during the pandemic. My sense is that things are pretty upbeat. I think we added 5 new people in February in order to handle workload. Our summer's booked. In the Canadian market, the government is spending huge money on infrastructure and hospitals and transit, and those are 2 of the sandboxes that we play in. And so there's a ton of activity. I've never understood how AVIXA gathered its data or what those indexes meant, but that's probably just my own intellectual deficiency.
The vast majority of, really quickly to have that definition, the vast majority of it is respondents, right? So these are self-selecting people. to talk in survey speak, right? They are self-selecting people, meaning that they decided to respond to a survey from AVIXA, right? They mix that with third-party economic data, right? So obviously the AVIXA can't pull out of thin air how many jobs was created in the U.S. or in Canada or any other company or a country. So, but that's why the one thing about the respondent was one of the questions was, are you experiencing significant, quote unquote, significant challenges? And this was the lowest time since 2017 that question itself was not responded to at a high level. So, Neil, same kind of question is both from a UK standpoint, a European standpoint, but globally also. What do you see the industry?
It's an interesting one, and again, I don't think I'll get in too much trouble for saying that. Obviously, Crestron was a little bit of a poster child when it came to product availability, and
I was wondering if anybody was going to address that elephant.
No, well, again, I think we're all old enough and wise enough and humble enough to say, yes, there clearly was, and again, before I joined, but there were some challenges. Those challenges have been worked through. Stock is now on the shelves, and that we are over that now, and that's fake news. It wasn't fake news; it's old news now. There's plenty of videos. I did a video touring our warehouse over in Europe. Again, showing people that the stock's there. So that's one problem, was obviously around the supply chain challenges. And I think we generally, certainly again, Crestron, I think 98, 99, whatever it is, most product lines are shipping X stock now. Again, I think most of them, other manufacturers, are getting close to that as well. So I think the supply chain thing is an old news. I think the other interesting thing, probably more so from the UC space and the AV space, we've kind of been in this kind of paralysis kind of area of like, are we hybrid? Are we back to the office? Are we not back to the office? And customers and companies have been trying to work through that kind of, what are we doing and what is the plan? And I think most of that stuff has hopefully been ironed out and nailed out. And that whole kind of like, again, Tim, we heard about it in Modern Work Summit, but the whole thing of getting people back to the office or hybrid, I think again most people have got a robust plan around that now. So they actually feel comfortable then to say, okay, let's kick off that project to refresh this. Let's move to this new office. Let's maybe consolidate those two offices together into a new office space, which will then obviously, as a byproduct, bring on procurement of new updated equipment, refreshes and things like that. So I think there's definitely an element of that. Again, Brock and I can provide more balance from the North American pitch, being from Canada and the UK, but certainly in EMEA, I mean, the UK's got our own challenges. We had the whole problem with COVID, then Brexit, and then, other economical challenges and a lunatic prime minister at the time. But I think the UK is in a little bit of a challenging space, but certainly Europe, again, some of the other big economies like France, Germany, again, are strong and coming back. And we're certainly seeing more growth in that space. I wouldn't say it's a hockey stick, growth, but certainly it's a pleasant, upward, linear trajectory. Again, there's no kind of big bangs, but certainly there are green shoots showing. So yeah, I think I'm positive about it. And again, yes, Crestron had challenges. Again, I'll face the elephant head on, stroke its trunk, and say thank you for supporting us and being there with us. We absolutely thank all of our partners, dealers, and customers for working with us, and we'll repay you with innovation and product availability for the future.
I was going to make a slight, dumb American joke, Neil. You said, crazy prime minister. My question was, which one?
Yeah.
I was just going to give him the solidarity, like it's us too. Sorry.
All right, Rebecca, where do we see the industry?
I'm in a bit of a different mindset because I work for an integrator and have for a long time. And most of the projects that I work on are very large scale, right? So the microeconomic stuff, like getting back into offices and stuff like that, doesn't necessarily affect me directly because my projects never stopped. In fact, one of the big projects that I did at my last company was actually pretty famous for being one of the things that never stopped during COVID because it was just too big you can't rail that train in, right? So my sort of state of the industry is based on product availability, globalization, shipping, et cetera. And I saw some really, 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 really heavy stuff with that. from every manufacturer, not just to pick on Neil there. But I do believe that Brock hit on a good point in that it's caused people to diversify, right? To go to other places, to look at other products, which I find to be helpful, because sometimes you fall into the trap of using the same thing over and over and over and over again, even if it might not be the best thing out there. So anyway, sorry, slight tangent, but to get back to your question, I think that the AV industry as a whole, I do see a lot more hiring people. People need workers everywhere, and people need specialized workers. And the good thing about a lot of the AV industry is you can work remote, you can work hybrid, you can do all of these things, and we kind of go hand in hand, right? We need offices to have an AV industry, and the AV industry needs offices. But it's a weird sort of dichotomy for me, because my work never stopped. But watching the sector as a whole go back up, as Neil said, like a hockey stick, I think bodes well for the industry as a whole, because that trickles into my side of it: product availability, people availability, more people coming into the industry, etc.
Awesome. All right. Final story, June 12th through the 14th, InfoComm will be happening in Las Vegas, Nevada. June 11th, AVIXA has rented out the Las Vegas Sphere. Pause for a second. I can give you all the details because I've been talking. I talked with them 6 months ago. I can tell you exactly how much this costs, and we'll talk about that in a second. But AVIXA has rented out the Sphere for an event. It's the opening reception on June 11th. The event will begin with a reception prior to the showing of Postcard from Earth, which is the Darren Aronofsky movie created especially for the Sphere canvas. Depending on the number of attendees AVIXA is planning, the cost of the event could run anywhere from $30,000 up to $3 million. There was nothing at press time on, which way they went. Well, here's the thing. So you can rent out the Sphere for a day, everything from top to bottom. You own it for $2 million, right? So $2 million a day, you get you get every seat in the house, you get all the stuff, right? You get the screens, you get all the jazz. That's for the guys putting on YouTube, right? The folks producing YouTube, they're probably paying $2 million. They may get a discount, I don't know. But if you want to have an event with an existing performance, either Postcard from the Edge or for Postcard from Earth or whatever, you buy a bunch of tickets, you pay for food and beverage. You work out the deal. That's where the $30,000 can go up to if you buy out every single seat in the house. This information is 2 months old now, but it was $850 roughly US, and that's without advertising on the outside of the Sphere. That is $500,000 a week for roughly. I mean, depending on how many you bought and all that jazz. But a 10-second ad for the week was $480,000 for that. So, Neil, if you're going to Vegas and you're like, the Sphere is cool, I either don't want to, go to the Sphere or $16K makes me nauseous, whatever reason you don't want to go, or if you do want to go, but that's just one night, what else in Vegas is going to give us an exceptional AV experience?
Well, I'm a bit concerned because I was always told what goes to Vegas stays in Vegas. So I'm a little bit concerned about talking about this.
You are entirely too social for that belong to you. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So
what happened in Orlando this week didn't stay in Orlando.
No, exactly. No, it's yes, absolutely. Quite. It was my first time in Vegas, actually, last InfoComm in Vegas. And I did there was a lady who took me on and been around every single casino. We marched around every casino. She knows who she is. That was quite interesting and quite an experience. I didn't do the Tesla loop. That's meant to be quite good. If anyone's obviously looking for a marriage with Elvis, I think that's obviously quite a thing. But I think from an AV point of view, there is a lot of AV in that space. And you only literally have to walk down the strip to see a lot of AV. The Sphere's a bit kind of like, it's a bit kind of meh, isn't it? I mean, it's like a big thing. It's a big telly, isn't it? It's a big round telly. Well, am I over, I'm sure it's an amazing experience to go in and see it, but I'm not sure it's a big round telly. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how sold I am on that.
Here's my 2 cents, because I have been inside the Sphere. I've not seen a performance. I have not seen a performance there. I've been inside though, and I've I'm not going to call it 4D or 5D or anything like that. Just let's understand that darn near every one of your senses is going to be activated in some way, shape, or form, right? They can shake your chairs. They can lower the temperature 10 degrees in 3 seconds. They can, they have a wind machine. They got everything, right? They even have smell-o-vision. And yes, I said they have smell-o-vision. I'm not kidding.
That's not the guy next to you that's just had a bit too much turkey or whatever.
For an experience, it might be worth it, right? Rebecca, where else in Vegas, or just go to the Sphere? Where else in Vegas should we go for some really interesting AV experiences?
Ooh, gosh. Okay, so I will be there all week this year, which is a frightening proposition. Pray for me. So lots of opportunities. I've been looking at going to a lot of stuff. And me, I come from live events, theater. I went to an arts conservatory. So for me, the epitome of, and this is going to sound a little bit weird, but for AV stuff is a lot of the Cirque shows that implement it as a supporting character, right? It's like the Sphere. You're right. It's a big telly. Now, it is a really cool experience. I'll give you that. But I like AV to be the supporting character in something else really cool, right? Like Ka was one of the first installations in America to do stuff like immersive audio. Like they have speakers in the seats. When Jonathan Deans designed the auditorium, he designed it for that show. There's a lot of really, really innovative stuff in those kinds of shows, but because they're not front and center, they're not the main point of what you're going to see like it is at the Sphere, people don't think of them, right? Because you say, oh, I want to go to a Cirque show, you're thinking about people twirling around over top of your head, not all of the technology. And when you can sort of separate yourself and go through and pick through that technology, they have got some of the coolest installation and live event hybrids in the country, period.
All right. Brock, we'll end with you on this. What do we think about AVIXA kicking off the week, kicking off their biggest show, go into the Sphere?
I posted on LinkedIn and complaining about it, and then erased it because I don't always want to be that guy. But the AVIXA's opening night keynote and address is a tradition. It is the only time all year that AVIXA, as our industry association, opens the doors and lets in as many members and people as are available and interested. Some of the keynotes that they've put on have been fantastic. And often there have been awards presentations that have occurred that same night. And I don't know if they're planning to do any of those things at the Sphere, but I do know that $125 a ticket will exclude an awful lot of people. And I just, I know within our own company that as soon as I read the press release that this was happening at the Sphere, I sent out a note to all our InfoComm attendees to sign up because this was wonderful. And then they went to sign up and bing, 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 the emails came in. It's $125 US, which is about like 800 Canadian or something. I don't know. I can't do the conversion anymore. But that's a lot of money, and that will exclude a lot of people. There will be manufacturers, I'm sure, that will and other exhibitors that will have a bunch of extra seats. But as unique as the Sphere is, and as much as it is the ultimate in backstage tour. Like 2 years ago, Rebecca, I don't know if you went on the Katy Perry Resorts World backstage.
I did not. That was my in and out in 24 hours InfoComm. It was a nightmare.
That's the L Acoustics Elisa immersive experience. Probably the biggest venue in the world. It is state of the art. There are so many cool things to see. It would be a super backstage tour. But I'm concerned if InfoComm starts making their keynote an annual gathering of members a pay-to-play activity. So
No, I was going to actually, I was going to throw it out to the amazing and beautiful AVNation audience that if Rebecca and I, and we all are in Vegas for InfoComm for a week, comment down below, do the social media thing, comment down below, where should we go? If you're watching this, we'd love to hear from you. I'm going to actually stay on probably the weekend before and after. I want to go on like a tour up to Death Valley and because I always just go, again, like Rebecca, in and out. You see the hotel, the convention center and the airport.
Don't go to Death Valley. I've got some better places for you.
Okay, Tim, you give me your list personally, but if you're watching this online, in the comments down below, give Rebecca and I your top 5 places to go in Vegas because we'd love to know.
Or
maybe
around
we'll go
Vegas,
together. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because Death Valley is not around Vegas. I just want to point that out. I mean, it's not like just around the corner.
It's in a whole other state.
Oh, is it?
It is a
oh,
whole other
it.
state.
Okay, good.
Which is like it would be like you visiting, I don't know, Germany.
Go on. Oh, okay.
France.
I was about to say, don't say France because they can get to France in like 45 minutes on a train.
We got a train that goes under the sea.
Anyhow, so AVI Systems is a sponsor, is currently the only sponsor. It's not the only one, but they're currently the sponsor of that. We're owned by CTI. I got nothing, against AVI Systems. Good on them for sponsoring it. So, but yeah, in Neil, it starts and ends with Gordo's Tacos. Is where we're going to start. So, all right. Thank you guys so much. Rebecca Sullins, how do people connect with you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Rebecca Sullins. You can email me, rebecca.sullins@ampthink.com. And Twitter, I think I'm still on there, or the X, as they call it. I like to, go and poke fun at Tim every once in a while. That's fun for me. So LinkedIn, Twitter, or email.
All right. Mr. McGinnis, thank you, sir. How do people connect with you?
Brock at nationwideav.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I spend very little time on Twitter anymore. Brock McGinnis there. I miss connecting with all the people. I wish that there was another platform that was more socially acceptable and have less garbage on it, that we could still connect. Although I'll still do an AV in the AM every once in a while because Mr. Netto continues to do a great job.
Yeah, he does.
But I'm not hard to find.
No, you're not. All right, Mr. Plooster, thank you, sir. How do people connect with you? How do people connect with Crestron? And how do we watch Crest TV?
Oh, that's a plug and a half. Crikey. I've got a crikey in. So I generally make a nuisance of myself on LinkedIn, Neil Fluister or Neil Crestron. You can generally find me. I'm out there. I don't do the Twitter XE thing. I'm too old for Instagram and TikTok. So don't do those. But I do, and thank you for that. And again, Crestron is very social as well. They're a company you can find. And yes, crestron.com/CrestTV. Every Thursday, we do an inferior show to this one that we put out. But we try, the bar's high from Tim, but we'll do our best to try and excite and interest the UC industry. But don't be shy, don't be scared. I'm a nice guy. So yeah, come and say hi.
Generally, yeah. And you get to go to better places. I'm stuck in the studio. You get to go like all over Europe. Yeah,
I'm in Munich in a couple of weeks, and then Amsterdam, Stockholm. I'm on tour.
And Mitchell has me here.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a book and a DVD coming out, I'm sure, as well. So,
basement office in Tennessee. Rebecca. I'm just sad now.
All right. For Tim Albright, don't follow me on anything. They got rid of Justin Fields. That's all I'm going to say about that. But go by the website if you would, please. AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. You'll find this program, a brand new State of Control, dropped today, actually, the 22nd of March. So you can check that out. EdTech, Women in AV, and all sorts of other stuff. And check out our coverage of Enterprise Connect, because by the time you listen to this, Neil and I will both be in Orlando. I guess I should say I'll be back in Orlando, but we're covering Enterprise Connect this week, the 25th through the 27th of March. All kinds of really great UC stuff, hanging out. Actually, Neil and I have a recording like first thing Monday morning or Tuesday. I know. We're hanging out. We're recording with Danto and some other really smart people. So check all that out and more at avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That's all the time we have for AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AV Nation.
This is AV Nation.